right, my lovelies. Hello, hello. Dudes, lads, lords, sugars, sugar lily, sugar mountains on the moon. Hope you're having a great weekend. Great weekend? Yeah. Sometimes we have to take a day off, take a day off here and there. It's good. So many different things. I'm like, where do I want to go? All right. Want to pick up back on Kohlberger in a little bit. We'll get there. One thing about Kohlberger. One thing that makes this difficult, right? This case difficult, right? And well, it's his family, right? His family. Now, one thing that kind of bothers me here with him and his family is that, now again, I'm playing a little devil's advocate here, all right? But we have not heard, I think throughout this entire thing, right? We have not heard a forceful statement. We'll call it that, right? A forceful statement. At least I haven't. From the direct family members, that in support of his innocence. I don't think I've seen that. Maybe I missed it. I could have missed it. Quite possible, right? But what you would hope to see here, at least I would hope to see, or have seen, right? I would have liked to have seen this, at least leading up to the trial, at least. Some type of statement in the press, that is forceful, right? And, that would leave room for no doubt. Like, no, Brian is completely innocent. There's no way he could have done this crime. We're in total shock of this. They got the wrong person. We're in disbelief. Any of that. I don't think I've seen any of that. I mean, again, I have, of course, there's so much. It's easy to miss these things. It's so easy to miss these things. But I don't recall it. I don't recall that. I don't recall his sister or his father or his mother or anybody else, putting that out there. Like, no, he didn't do it. What are you guys are nuts, I don't know. Anyway, not the topic of this video, but just something to consider, as I'm looking at Kohlberger and thinking about him and all this. So anyway, let's get on with what I really wanted to talk about in this one, and analysis. All right, so we're going to look at an expert, right? An expert evaluating a little bit of when the officers arrive on scene. And our prime suspects are out and about, especially Dylan. Remember, she comes out of the house. Well, she doesn't have any shoes on, remember? And, Bethany's not with them. That's another good point here. You think Bethany and Dylan would be together here outside of the house, but they're not. You guys know this, right? Bethany's away from the house, and she's not with Dylan when the officer comes upon them. And isn't that odd? I find that odd, yeah. Because they're the only two that came out of the house, right? But they're not together, though, when the police show up. Odd. Because they're so scared, right? They're scared, and you think they'd be together here in this moment, and they're not. Very interesting. And what else is interesting about all that? Is that they're not together at all. In fact, in the rest of this whole entire saga, right, they're quite apart, aren't they? Bethany never shows up for any of the court stuff. Nothing at the sentencing hearing. Nothing. Right? Interesting. Dylan and Bethany, after this moment in time, it's like they totally separate from each other. Separate. Except there is a brief moment, I believe, in April of 2023, somewhere around March, April-ish 2023, where I know, based on some of the documents, right, there has been some contact between the families, between Dylan and Bethany's family. There had to be some contact because we see Dylan's family. I believe they retrieve some of Bethany's items or something like that as well, or I forget how that goes. But as far as we know, them two, themselves, right, themselves, yeah, separated after this moment, and we see that right as the officer arrives on scene, Nunez, right, or Noons, or however they want to call them, whatever they want to call them. I don't care. I call them all fucking corrupt and despicable. But anyway, excuse me. And yeah, so but we're going to watch this analysis of an expert. Okay. Now, what's the themes of this, right? Bias, predisposed. See, no matter how much of an expert we claim to be, we are predisposed here because now, if you're going to do a video like this, like an expert who has like the education and all this, right? Well, you have to have a clear mind. You have to suspend your judgment here. But I have not seen this yet. I stumbled upon it because you know what? I was like, you know what? What was a so-called expert think about this? So-called expert. Okay. Yeah. Oh, wait. I want to show this. Hang on, guys. Hang on. Have to look at priming. Now, here's what it is. And this is what I'm looking for. And bias. And this shows all throughout what the Moscow Police Department did in their questioning of the so-called not suspects, but they are. So this is what it is. It's a psychological phenomenon, where exposure to a stimulus influences a person's later thoughts or actions, Moscow Police. This can be done by presenting words, images like a balaclava. Can you draw it for me? Sounds or other cues that subconsciously prepare someone to be more receptive to your point of view or behavior. For example, showing someone a picture of food might make them think of the word soup more quickly, Moscow Police Department, or a business can prime customers to buy Italian wine by playing Italian music. Remember, it's not quite subliminal. There is a subliminal element to this, but it's not quite subliminal. And we're not playing in that sandbox, okay? But it's akin to that in a certain sense, okay? It's not a subliminal. However, it's priming you. Priming. Right? Good. So when we're watching this so-called expert, there's two things going on. There's a couple things going on here. Bias. Now, again, I'm just assuming, I haven't watched it yet, we're going to watch it right now. But I'm assuming he's already adopting the mainstream media and Moscow Police Department. He's already taking their point of view. So when he's analyzing this footage, that is the lens that he is focusing it through. Okay, now Moscow Police Department, they primed Ms. Dillon throughout their interviews, right, by suggesting certain things to her. This is not an interrogation. This is not how interrogations work. This is not how we interview people. Now, again, this is not a real investigation that we saw. No. If it was, the detectives who are doing the interview should be well aware of this potential problem. But Moscow Police thoroughly engaged in this in their interviews. In fact, you might as well just give the suspect all the information that you have and say, What do you think about this? You know? Fucking ridiculous, guys. You know this. My guard knows this already. But people in denial, they don't know this. Okay? Because of this. Because of this. They're already primed. That's what that's what mainstream media does to people. They prime you. Right? Moscow police did this as well. They did it with the general public, and they did it with their very own suspects. Suspects. Yes, they did. So, anyway, let's carry on with what I want to show you. Priming. Remember the priming. Prime. Alrighty, here we go.
Be doing a forensic analysis of
this
the
is
police body
Dr. G.
the day after Brian Kohberger murdered 4 Idaho.
All right, guys, I wanted to give you his credentials here. Hang on.
Hey, everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist as well as a body language expert. And today we're going to be doing a
criminal and forensic psychologist and a body language expert, which means he has a PhD degree in something. Right? Right. Now he goes on to say this is not a psychological evaluation. They like to skirt around that by doing that. There's other people on here that do that. They say, I'm not trying to diagnose anybody. But everything up until that point, pretty much.
A forensic analysis of the police body cam footage the day after.
Forensic analysis of the police body cam footage. Okay, that's what we're doing, right?
Brian Kohberger murdered 4 Idaho college students. Before we get started, a couple of quick things. One, I wanted to make sure you know this is not a psychological evaluation. These are just my opinions. In addition to that, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe.
But that's fine. But you're also throwing in your credentials, though. Got to keep that in mind here. It's your opinion, just like everybody else's opinion. However, we're going to throw in our credentials to make it seem like our opinion has more weight to it. Don't we, Dr. G?
If you want to see more content.
And everybody else who does content like this guy. There's a bunch of others just like him on here. All right? And they'll say the same things. Well, I'm not evaluating them psychologically. I'm not diagnosing them. However, with my degrees and so on and so forth, that is priming you to think his opinion has more weight to it. Carry on with your bias. Let's see how this goes. I'm not sure yet. I haven't seen it. Ha!
Just like this. All right, let's go.
Let's go.
This is a long video, so I'm just going to be playing the most important segments. But this is the day after the Idaho student
murders. This is the day
of. This police officer does not know that he is preparing to walk into a murder scene.
Day of. This is the day of. And there's one suspect right there is Hunter Johnson.
Wavering. And this means there's adrenaline pumping through their system. This means that they are anxious. Now, it doesn't seem that they fully understand what's going on. From my understanding, the police believe that someone was passed out at this point. So that's what he's responding to.
Oh, who did that?
As you can see,
wait a minute, wait a minute, Dr. G. Wait a minute, Dr. G. Why aren't you asking the question? Here's the question. You see, this is a very good teachable moment for people like this, right? People who have PhDs. Look, the question you got to ask here is, why were the police misled into thinking that this was just some unconscious, passed out person? When we're hearing all this shit going on in the night and we don't do anything about it. Why aren't you asking that? Oh, because you already picked a side. You already decided to go with the mainstream media narrative and what Moscow Police Department already told you. Dr. G. I think you should hand your PhD back in, my friend.
A little further.
Yeah, you should.
Where at? Up here? Up here. Something you may already be noticing, and I want you to look out for, is how tight everything in this house is. The stairway is small. Everything is very windy, which would have added to the chaotic nature of what was going on.
Oh, okay. Sure. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, guys, you know what? One thing I missed here. Hang on, let's back up just a little bit, guys. Here's what I missed. I didn't see a Doc Martens fucking boot right in the middle of the living room, did you? Remember that Doc Martens boot we saw? Well, where is it? Do you see a Doc Martens boot in the middle of the living room? No. There should be one right here. There should be a Doc Martens boot right here. And there is not. Where is that boot? Where is it? This has been altered. Again, this picture here, this environment, the living room, whatever you want to call this area, this was also altered. Not just the kitchen, okay? Because in other places we see a fucking boot right here in the middle of the goddamn living room. Yes. Where did it come from? The magical mystery fucking Doc Martens boot. Where did it come? It just shows up. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, people in denial. Explain why there's all of a sudden a magical Doc Martens boot that we find in other pictures, other videos. It just suddenly appears here. Now remember, the cop coming in here, this is the cop that's the first on scene. The very first officer on scene walking into the crime, right? The crime scene. We should see a fucking boot right here. Yes, we should. But we do not, Moscow police. You little rats. Yeah. I checked if she was breathing, and she... We all know this crap. We all know this crap.
Okay, get out. So as you...
Okay, get out. And he still has says he has the knife in his hand right there?
You can hear the officer's voice, even just briefly. Everything changed right there. You hear the tension in his voice almost immediately. Once adrenaline starts pumping, once the body starts tightening up, you are in protection mode. Because this is not what he anticipated. And that's a big part of what we're going to be talking about today, is the expectations were defied. Nobody was going to expect what happened. Nobody.
And who made that possible? Dylan.
It's going to be very hard for people's brains to recognize
Dylan.
Actually going on and what actually happened. When they talk to one of the roommates later about what they recall, we're going to get much more into that. But now, I'm going to jump back. Let's listen to this police officer for a second.
Okay, let's listen.
Okay, get back.
Okay, get back. Get back. Oh, how about this? How about this? How about this? Put your fucking hands up. You're under arrest. Yeah, because you have a knife in your hand. And guess how they were supposedly unalived? Well, they were stabbed to death. Right, Moscow Police Department? People in denial. People who have followed crime for any length of time in their life, right? The cop should have told him, put your fucking hands up, drew his pistol, pointed it at his fucking head, and called for backup immediately. Because again, you're not a psychic. But Moscow Police Department, apparently they have psychics. Guys, we know this is ridiculous. We know this is not a real investigation. I want to hammer that point over and over and over again. And this character here, Dr. G, he already chose a side here. He already said to himself, I believe Moscow Police Department wholeheartedly. I believe the mainstream media narrative wholeheartedly. And so my analysis is going to be filtered through that lens. It's called bias, Dr. G. That's the first thing you learn when you go to school for psychology. Correct? Fucking, whoa, you fucking bass. All of them. They're all rats.
You could hear the student was speaking, and the officer didn't even respond. He's now laser focused.
Because he should have said, put your fucking hands up. You're under arrest. I don't know why you're walking around the house with a fucking knife. I don't know how long you've been in that house for. This Hunter Johnson, for all this cop knows, could have been in that house for 3 fucking hours. We don't know. Again, Moscow Police Department. You must have a bunch of psychics running around your department. Or the more likely thing is, you're all corrupt. Yeah, I think that's more likely. Or at least most of you. Or some of you. There's got to be at least one of you. This guy, look, you could say, well, he's inexperienced. He's never faced a situation like this. But guess what? They have training, supposedly. They're supposedly trained for things like this, supposedly, right? So when you encounter somebody who is leading you into the crime scene where people are butchered and he's walking around with a knife in his hand, New York City Police, I'm going to throw this out to the New York City Police Department. What would you do in a situation like that? When you are called into a crime scene, first of all, you've been lied to. The first thing you got to say to yourself is, why did fucking Dylan Mortensen lie to me? Why did they lie and try to pretend that this was a situation when it was not that situation? That's the first question. You'd be pissed off, New York, I would imagine. I'd be pissed off. Second thing you got to do is you got to fucking put Hunter Johnson under arrest at this very moment. Again, what are we going to do? We'll sort it out later. But right now, you have enough probable cause to say you're the murder suspect. Right, New York City Police Department? Or pick any major city. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But I like to go with New York City. What would you do, New York City Police Department, in this situation? New York City Police Department. Do you employ psychics on your team? I don't think so. I hope not. Huh. I mean, I'd probably be a good addition, actually. I know for a fact I'd make a good addition to Moscow, Idaho. Huh, yeah. First of all, I'd fire the entire police department. Yeah, that's the first thing I'd do if I was in charge.
When everything's redacted as it should be.
Uh-huh. Oh, wait. Sorry, guys. Hang on. Something like this, guys.
This student was doing. You see this position right here?
Uh-huh.
Hands over his head, elbows up.
Yep.
We do that when we're in a panicked mode because it forces us to breathe through our diaphragm. So if you try to do that and take a breath through your chest, you just can't do it.
Oh.
So it's not like you consciously think that you need to do this. Your body just automatically does it.
See, he's already biased, right, guys? So what he's interpreting as an anxious sort of thing, that I could also say, he's also preparing himself to get arrested. Because that's what we do when we're going to get arrested. They tell us, put your fucking hands up. I can say that, Dr. G. Eh? Yes, I can. Chris Watts. We know what he did, Dr. G. And he had this very same fucking body language, didn't he, Dr. G? See, it all depends on what kind of bias you want to follow, my friend. And this is the very first thing they teach you in, Psychology 101, we'll call it. Yeah. But guys, you know what? I'm not going to... we can carry on. I'm just saying. The example... This is why I wanted to do this. Even so-called experts in their field, they don't escape their bias. They don't escape their shadow. He already chose to believe Moscow Police Department. And so everything his interpretation is going to be filtered through that lens. Right, Dr. G? There is no questioning of anything here, I suspect. Right. Everything in his interpretation is going to speak to the fact that these people had nothing to do with the crime. So again, there's multiple other people like this on here. You guys, this is a teachable moment. Yeah. Yes, it is. Now look. You could say, well, aren't you doing the same thing, Master Nature? No, I'm not. Here's why. Because here's why. Because Dylan Mortensen lies, okay? Dylan, Bethany, all these characters, they all lie. They all say things that are inconsistent, that do not make sense to what we know. So no, I'm not biased, not in this fashion. No, because I read and I listened to what they say. And again, anybody with a logical, orderly thinking brain has to arrive at certain conclusions. And that is not, I'm saying, free from bias here. Look, Dylan lies. We know this. Her story changes multiple times. It's impossible what she says in her interviews, it's impossible. And there's tangible proof of that because she's still alive. That is your outcome. Dylan Mortensen should not be alive. And no, that's not heartless. When you are going to paint a picture of a lone wolf as a maniac and a psychopath and somebody who can mutilate 4 people, Dylan Mortensen should not be alive. Dylan Mortensen and this lone wolf character that she's trying to describe, they see each other. They look at each other. He sees her. Okay? Again, that's one of Dylan's greatest screw-ups in this case. Yeah. Anyway, we know this guy. I'm just saying. A couple more. I know he's already biased, but I just want to hammer. I want to hammer and hammer and hammer.
But that's a way to try to force yourself to calm down a little bit.
Oh, really? By standing like that?
Been in tragedies or who have been in some sort.
No, I think what you would probably do is, if you're really innocent, you're not going to stand like that. Like, you probably should arrest me. And he should have been arrested here. Right, New York City Police Department? You don't know what he's doing. You don't know how long he's been in the house. You don't know what he did with the bodies. You don't know. All you know at this point is you saw 2 people lying in the bedroom, covered in blood. You can just visually see there should be blood everywhere in that room. Okay? You see 2 bodies that are, well, they're stabbed. You can see that. And here you got your suspect right in front of you. He's looking at you. And he has his hands up already. Okay? Yeah. Waiting. He's waiting for you to arrest him. That's why he's doing that. Yeah. It's not because he needs to calm down. No. If this was real, if this situation was real, okay? Now, you know what I mean. And you saw that? If you had nothing to do with this crime and you saw what you saw in that room, okay? You're probably going to be hyperventilating. You're probably going to be fucking hyperventilating. You might pass out from what you just saw. From the shock. From the shock. We see this all the time in real cases. Real cases. People discovering dead bodies that are horribly disfigured, okay? They are hyperventilating. They can barely speak. They are in shock. That is what we call true shock. That's real shock. Hunter Johnson is not in shock. Hunter Johnson is excited because here's what I think about this. Okay? He wasn't sure when police were going to arrive. He wasn't sure. And so he was doing what he was doing. We don't know for how long he was doing this for, guys. Right? New York City Police Department. You don't know, again, how long this character has been in the house for. All you know is you saw 2 dead people mutilated in a room, and you have this character in front of you who just so happens to have a knife on him. He happens to have a knife on him. So New York City Police Department, captain, whoever, what would you do in this situation? Yes, you're exactly correct. Thank you. You would reach for your gun. You would point it at him maybe, or at least you'd have your hand on it, and you tell him to get on the fucking ground right here. Don't move. Don't move, or I will shoot your fucking head off. You might not say that, but you're going to imply it. If you move a muscle, bad consequences are going to happen to you. So don't move. Get on the ground. And while he gets on the ground, you're watching him do that. You're calling for backup immediately. Immediately. And here's what you're going to say, perhaps. You're going to say, send everybody you got. I got 2 dead people in a room. I don't know what else is going on in this house. I just been in this one room. My suspect showed me the dead bodies. And my suspect, he has a knife with him. And he may use that knife on me. I don't know what he's doing here. Right? Whatever. But you're going to get backup immediately while he's on the fucking ground. and you're going to have your hand on your fucking, your revolver, your issued arms, and you're going to keep your eyes on him and make sure he doesn't fucking move. That's what you're going to do in this situation. Everything else this is all bullshit what we're seeing here. New York City Police Department, Los Angeles Police Department. Correct me if I'm wrong. Would you not do that in this situation? I think you would. I'm going to leave it right there for now, guys. Yeah. In fact, you just never know where these videos are going to take you, right, Dr. G? Anyway, I already know what you are. And therefore I'm never going to watch any of your content again because you are biased and you already chose to say everything that Moscow Police Department did in this case is accurate and true, and I believe the mainstream media narrative on top of it. Bye-bye. Hey, bye-bye. Bye-bye. And Hunter, you should have been arrested. You should have been immediately arrested and taken down to the police station. And Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk, because of this situation, they also should have been arrested. Because they are the ones that prompted this call. They are the ones that lied to the police on this call. Okay? They downplayed the situation. They downplayed everything here. That would piss me off greatly if I was a police officer walking into a crime scene like this and I was told a lie to get me to come over here, and that's what I find. I am going to be very angry here. Angry. But anyway, the point is, Hunter should have been arrested in this very moment. And Moscow police, they cannot explain that. There is no logical, reasonable explanation for why Hunter Johnson wasn't immediately arrested in this situation. Now, again, New York City Police Department, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay? All right, babies. I love you. Hey, we're going to keep rolling today, and we're going to keep hammering and hammering and hammering and hammering until that wall, well, it may not come down, but it might. And we got to keep hammering because it just might come down. At least maybe we're starting to see some cracks in that wall. Maybe. And where are we, babies? Oh, wait a minute, guys. Hang on. Sorry, guys. I got to read one more thing to you before we go for this one. And yes, I'm going to have to cut out most of that, but the music. But hey, that's what you get when you come to the garden, my loves. You know it. I love yous. Here, I got to read this, though, to you real quick. Let's read this together. It's funny. All you have to do is say something nobody understands, and they'll do practically anything you want them to do. Yeah. The catcher in the rye, my friends. Hey, we're all back in the New York groove, I think. I love yous. Let's go. And keep your hammers at the ready.